Vehicle and asset finance from ABSA, going off the beaten track to find solutions.
Ford and Toyota will be hoping the law of averages catches up with Nissan in the production vehicle category of the Toyota Kalahari Botswana 1000 Desert Race, round 4 of the ABSA Off-Road Championship in Botswana. Perennial champions Nissan have won the prestigious event 6 years in a row, and Toyota in particular would love to chalk up a long overdue victory on their event. They came close last year via Mark Ronier and Chris Birkin in a factory Castrol Toyota Hilux, and will be hoping that this year a Toyota crew will indeed do the trick. Factory support for Ronier and Birkin will come from Anthony Taylor and Robin Houghton, a 4-time winner of the Desert Race in a second works Castrol Toyota Hilux. For Taylor, his second appearance since replacing Bevan Berthold in the Castrol Toyota lineup could come as a culture shock, but he is fortunate in being able to call on Houghton's vast experience. After scoring their first Super Production Class win on the Eastern Cape 500, the Cronje-Birkin combination will have high hopes of a Botswana win. There's no doubt that Toyota Hilux V6 is competitive, and Toyota will be hoping that dollop of luck always needed to win an event like the Toyota Kalahari Desert Race will come their way. There is also very strong support for the two factory crews from the consistent Chris Visser, Japie Baardnor's Castrol Toyota Hilux, and Hugo and Jaap de Bruin in the Micron Excel Toyota Hilux, who were early frontrunners in last year's event. Both teams are experienced and enjoy desert race conditions. Also out in a Toyota Hilux V6 entry will be George and Sharon Parkhuizen in the Rurikon colours and Jaco Swanepoel and Keith Solomon in the IDM Cement Hilux. Both crews have made a quantum leap from Class E, and their primary aim will simply be to make it to the finish line. As ever, the Nissan Challenge is substantial, with 3 crews all capable of winning. Leading the charge will be reigning drivers champion Duncan Voss for the second year in a row. He will have a stand-in co-driver. Ralph Pitchford again has overseas commitments, and young Louis Weichelt again steps into the breach in the Sassel Nissan Navara. Last year, Richard Leek replaced Pitchford and landed a record 8th Desert Race win. Former champion Hannes Grobler and Jean Moore are welding into a solid combination. Their advantage is that there is nothing you can teach Grobler, who first won this event way back in 1984, about the Toyota Desert Race. The highly competitive Norwegian Ivar Tollefsen and Briton Quinn Evans complete the Nissan lineup. There is, however, doubt about Evans making the trip to Africa, and reigning co-drivers champion Francois Jordan is standing by. There is also nothing you can teach veteran Ford crew Neil Woolridge and Kenny Scholthammer about the Toyota Kalahari Botswana 1000 Desert Race. Woolridge has won here 3 times, twice with Scholthammer, and experience and the solid reliability of the Ford Ranger makes them very good bets this year for victory. Mark Ferguson and Craig West in the second factory Ford will be another crew who will be happy to make it to the finish, as will Kobus van Tonda and Rian Guapa in the Unifreight Ford Ranger. Desert Race veterans Alfie Cox and Henny ter Steege in the Motorrad SP will be looking for their best result of the season, and experience is also a trump card for them. After missing the recent Nissan Sugarbelt 400, the father and son team of Harold and Tian Kun will be back in action in the ex-Barker Land Rover BMW. A finish will be at the top of their agenda. 2 wins this season have taken Kutsiela Beskagni and Johan Gerber in the Raysonics Nissan Hardbody to the top of the Class D Championship. This is also their sort of race, but there are some tough challenges. Chris de Plooy Jr. and Henk van Vuren in the RFS Toyota Hilux will have thrown their hat into the arena, while Henry and Maurice Matten in their Ryobi Nissan Hardbody won the class last year. Reigning drivers champion Cliff Weichelt and Jimmy Goch in the N1 4x4 Toyota Hilux will be looking for a return to form, as will Ramon Besaidnout and Stefan Locke in their Toyota, who've had a miserable time of it this season so far. 2 wins have also given Jannie Visser, brother of Chris, and Yorks LaRue in their Team Barbasman Toyota Hilux a comfortable lead in Class E. The Desert Race is meat and drink to Visser and LaRue, but they could be troubled by the factory Ford racing pair of Jack Peckham and Lucio Santoro. Dewald van Breda, now partnered by Pierre Muntz in a Toyota Hilux, will be having his first taste of the Desert Race, and it will be an eye-opener. While while Thomas Rundle and Brian Roberts in the Baden Tyre Services Nissan Hardbody will be out to end a disappointing run. Dion Fente and Ian Palmer in their 4x4 Mega World Toyota Hilux will also be looking to build on an encouraging Nissan Sugarbelt 400 result. Experienced Rob Gurney and rookie Paul Gonlag could also come into the reckoning. It will however need a big effort from a crew which has made a late start to the season. Foss and Pitchford have 2 wins already in 08. Will they make it 3 out of 4? Manufacturer's race is still wide open. Nissan has just a 2-point lead over fellow Japanese giant Toyota, while Ford is 10 points back. It will be a thrilling side contest. All the ingredients are in place too for a cracker of race in the special vehicle category on this year's Toyota Kalahari Botswana 1000 Desert Race. A combination of tight championship positions and contrasts in style set the scene for what is likely to turn into an intriguing race. On top of that, there is the traditional desert race sting in the tail to take into account. In the overall and Class A championship, only 4 points separate Karl Heinz and Quinton Sulwalt in their Sulwalt Racing Zarko, last year's winners, and former South African champ Terence Marsh and Pieter Groenewald in the Regent Racing Bat. Both teams have a measured approach to their racing, and the desert race will be their cup of tea. Herman Sulwalt and Paul Helberg in a second Sulwalt Racing Zarko will also fancy their chances, as will 06 winners Nick and Ryan Harper in the Atlas Copco Bat, and co-driver turned driver Mike Whitehouse and Matthew Carlson in the second Regent Racing Bat. No one wins the Toyota Kalahari Botswana 1000 Desert Race on the first day, but there are some charges in the field who provide the race with some fascinating contrasts. Leading that brigade are the likes of reigning champions Evan Hutchison and Achim Bergman in the Motorrad Bat, and Nissan Sugarbelt 400 winners Gary Berthold and Andre Vermeulen in the second Atlas Copco Porter. Both crews resurrected their championship hopes on the Sugarbelt and will be looking to carry their renaissance a step further. Brandon Harkers, partnered by 8-time Desert Race winner Richard Leake in the second Motorrad entry, is also a charger. And Shamir Variawa and Siegfried Rousseau in the Total Porter are due for a win. Veterans Nardis Alberts and Colin Hunter in the Rapsa Bat jump back to form on the Nissan Sugarbelt 400, and Peter Ruthven and Deval Boshoff will be looking for a solid performance in their Roacon Bat. Former winner Mark Corbett and Rudy Balzar in the Century Property Development CR1 will be looking to get to the end, and Colin Matthews and Alan Smith in their bat, together with Clint Gibson and Gary Campbell in the Gibson Plant Hire Bat, are good outside bets. The scene for a good race is also set in Class B, where tight championship battles add a little interest to proceedings. Lo de Bruyn, reunited with Rudy Brits in the Roacon Bat, leads the Drivers' Championship. The younger crews, however, are up against some wily old campaigners. The desert race is the sort of event veteran Gil Nel, partnered by Dion de Kock and the Luke Africa Zarko, relishes. Bez Besaidnout and Johan de Bruyn in their Adenko Bat also have plenty of experience and will know how to pace themselves. Jan Kraai and Tito Vogt in the Keymax Bat returned to form on the Nissan Sugarbelt 400, and Simon Beckett and Steve Harris together in the Century Property Developments Bat had a good result in KZN as well. The form book in Class P, which has replaced Class S, has been turned upside down. Reigning Class S champs Richard Schilling and Chris Davies in the Ayscow RS have yet to finish a race this season, and Nick Gosler and Richard Carolyn in the Men's Health International Raceco have not fared much better. KZN crew Don Thompson and Don Blakey in their Zarko have come from nowhere with a win and a second, giving them a comfortable championship lead. Brothers David and Gary White in their Roacon Bat and Johan and Etienne Besaidnout in their Adenko Bat have also won the season and will be brimming with confidence. All told, it points to some really great racing. But you cannot buy experience. On this basis, the likes of Schilling and Davies and Gosler and Carolyn can be expected to bounce back after disappointing starts to the season. The Sulwalts, Cully and son Quinton, have a 4-point advantage over former champion Terence Marsh and Groenewald, while Herman Sulwalt will be chasing his brother all the way, just 16 points in arrears. The program in and around Gaborone will be chock and block full of great racing over an exhausting 1,000 kilometers. If you can get there, be there. If you don't, we'll report back from Gaborone. Until then, you keep it on the road, we'll keep it off-road.
That was the ultimate test, the ABSA Off-Road